And welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to show you a melody trick you probably didn't know about in FL Studio. So firstly, we're going to use my plugin called Hercules. You can find this at BusyWorksBeats.com/Hercules. Let's go to core library. Actually, I have some of my favorites saved. Let's save some time. So the crystals is under the bells category, and it's one of my faves. So let's start here. Now what we're going to do is write a MIDI melody. We're going to print it to audio. We're going to chop the audio, and I'm going to show you guys the technique you probably didn't know about. Okay, so firstly, let's quickly go over like how to create a quick melody. We're going to start with what's called a root note. Okay, so we're going to start somewhere. It doesn't really matter where. Now from here, we're going to count up 7. This is called the perfect fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now those usually guide your ear as to where you want to go next. Okay, so what we're doing is playing the perfect fifth. We're playing what's called an augmented fifth, or just a half step or one note above that note, and then we're going back to the root note up an octave. And then we can come back down. Again, using that same technique, taking the tonic in this case and going a half step up. And let's just repeat. So it's a pretty atmospheric sound. We're kind of spreading the sound out. So I really love half steps, especially for trap music and more modern hip hop styles. So now what we're going to do is print this to audio. Let's add this. Let's right click, consolidate track from track start. Make sure we cut remainder here for the sake of just our brain. We're going to put 32-bit stereo, 512 point sync. And we are going to make sure we have insert effects if you guys have any. Now we have that melody clip as audio. So let's double click in here, switch the mode to stretch mode, and switch it back to resample. So the first thing we could do is simply, actually before I get into the weeds about things, let's just double click, right click on the sample, and let's open in a Fruity Slicer. Now let's slice by the beat. This is a Wonder Girl technique, and let's pull up the attack. What we're gonna do is go to our patterns here. We're gonna hit Control X, move this to a new pattern, Control V. We're gonna hit Control L, send that to the mixer. And here's the key, is that now it's in audio, we have it chopped up. So it's like a built-in stutter effect. But that's not it. We could also add a note and double click and then add a slide note. And now we can create our own pitch, tape stops, and DJ effects per slice. So it slides that amount of semitones. Basically in the beginning it slides a little bit, then it slides more, then it slides even more, then it slides a lot. You guys can adjust the actual note that it ends on. There's no specific note, it's just sliding to a note. Okay, now we can even go back, add this into the playlist, and re-render this. Let's do consolidate from track start. Same exact settings here. Let's cut remainder. And now we could do 1,000 things. Like we could double click on the sample, go to mode, stretch mode, switch it back to resample. One of my newer techniques is if I produce in a higher BPM, I'll lower the BPM now. Now that we've time stretched it, basically we added a value to this knob here. So now I can move this tempo and get different tones. Pretty unique melody. Okay, so again, we can up the BPM higher than our regular to change the tone. Okay, we could do stuff like reverse. I probably wouldn't reverse this one, it's a little too active. If you go to pre-computed effects, we could use stereo delay. So it's creating like a left-right pan that sounds pretty cool. It's hard to tell when it activates. I think it activates on the transients, but I can't really tell when it begins. There's reverb, and yeah, we really don't need to do anything else to the sample. Just wanted to show you guys that quick trick. Let's do another melody technique. Let's go to pattern 1. Let's go back to our plugin here. I'm gonna swap out the sound. Okay, so now we have a bell. It's a more plucky style bell. Let me add a couple more notes in here. Let's just add a contrast layer. Let's take our root note, go down an octave, and then let's just go to the 5th, and then back down. And then a half step. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use something that's a little more plucky. We're going to add reverb, render it, and then reverse reverb into the notes. It's a little like mind F for a little bit to understand this, but basically we have to reverse the MIDI so that when we reverse the MIDI in audio, it plays forward. So this is a little crazy to think. Go to your tools, go to flip. We're going to flip horizontal. So now what we're going to do is add reverb, all reverb. You guys can use any reverb. Let's use Valhalla Vintage Verb for this demonstration. Let's go to now. We want 100% wet level and any decay time that you guys want. I'm just going to put 4 seconds. That is kind of long, so let's actually shave it down a little bit. I guess it sounds nice. Okay, so now we're going to render this MIDI into audio, and then we're going to reverse this and play it over top of it playing regularly. Consolidate this. We need to make sure that our insert effects are on. Now we have it as reverb. It's harder to read as reverb because it's a lower volume. But basically, remember this is reversed. So let's click on it and reverse it again. And now let's go back to our MIDI and reverse it back to normal. I said it gets a little confusing here. So now we're playing forward MIDI and a reversed reverse. So now now we have a texture layer that you can't get through MIDI or effects in your mixer because it's swelling up into the proper notes. And if you're really crazy, you would take both of these, consolidate all this to audio, and then you would chop it up like we just did before. So let's try to do this on one track. So now all that should be printed into this one audio. Okay, so let's double click, right click, open in Fruity Slicer, slice by the beat. Remember, there's a subtle offset because of FL. Let's go to a new pattern, pattern 3. We're gonna dump to piano roll, normal, and we're gonna pull up the attack. Again, this is a Wonder Girl technique. So now we have the reverse reverb and we have the original melody stack and it's sliced. So this is how you combine the two. So now it has a texture. Again, if you want to like level this up, hopefully this doesn't crash FL, but Crystallizer is a great plugin from Sound Toys. And also there's a plugin called Valhalla Shimmer that's really good. So let's combine these two. And let's create a secondary chain here. Let's open up Valhalla Shimmer. Now this is going to be at 100% mix level because we're going to blend it in. We're going to send it to the reverb. Let's turn this delay down a little bit. So I think the Crystallizer is a little too much for this one. Let's add some pitch shifting to the Valhalla Shimmer. So now we have that Metro Boomin type sound. And now let's do the one technique where we add the pitch bends. Double click, add a slide note here. Okay, now if you're again triple crazy, you would copy your actual melody and layer it in some type of way. So let's paste this. And now we're gonna swap out the sound and layer it. Let me make sure this is all routed correctly. So 3 is over here. Oh, that's going through the vintage verb. So now I'm just gonna go through my sounds in Hercules at busyworksbeats.com/Hercules. We're gonna pick a bell that sounds good on top. I like this darker tone. It blends well with that pitch effect. You guys will get the project files for free if you go to busyworksbeats.com/FL Studio. Okay, now final touch I would add to this is grouping all this. It's called a melody. We're gonna right click. Let's route to this track only. Let's add some hyperchorus. This is more of a Travis Scott type sound once you start adding hyperchorus, but it's a great FL Studio plugin. Let's pull this note up an octave. Let's get crazy. Let's add some halftime. Now we're getting a little crazy because now we're stacking rhythms, which can be a little complex. At halftime, balance it out, mix level. Let's try out a couple more sounds and then we'll wrap the video. Also, I meant to show you guys, you can also pitch bend the opposite way. It doesn't always have to be down. So I'll pitch bend up a couple times. So it creates a really unique pitch experience in your melody. And then from here, I'd add piano, like, just add like a super dark piano. Let's just do it for the video's sake, and then we'll wrap this up as I keep adding the layers. So normally I would play this with my keyboard, but it's not plugged up. It's not turned on right now. So to add that final touch for this melody, I would add just play C at a really low octave on a grand piano and layer it 2 octaves like this, and then hit Control down. We play a really dark octave. Okay, so I gave you guys way more than I actually expected. This video was supposed to be about one thing. I went into like 8 things. But if you guys want to learn melodies, go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory essentials. You guys can learn melody, chord progressions, scales, modes, modal interchange, key modulation, all types of stuff, parallel modes. Just go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. Subscribe if you're new, like this video, share with a friend. Peace.